wow, do I have a part two to the video I just made? Because this is on a much deeper level. I had a friend start telling me your story about how the meditation of our heart affects other people. And I even wrote something years ago about taking your rags off. There's scriptures about that too, taking your dirty, filthy clothes off, which if you think about that as having bad attitudes, when people aren't serving our happiness and we cop a bad attitude, that this is a much deeper level of spiritual training where we can tell ourselves the truth in real time about the meditation of our heart and how we affect other people with the very spirit and essence of who we are when we start playing Martha martyr because people aren't making us happy. I mean, if there's a problem my mom had that I ended up having too, just like my friend who's going to talk in just a second, it's playing the part of Martha Martyr in the movie of your life where people are afflicting you selfishly. And instead of making good judgments about how do I become a servant here, Lord? How do I help? We just secretly are ticked off because we're offended. And so we create breaches in the spirit, not just with words. We create breaches in the spirit with the very meditation of our heart. And I've done that a lot and made light of it, but we shouldn't make light of it. And this is just so wise, this story. I'm going to let Carmie, my friend, talk about what happened with her because this is such a greater depth of self-examination and how we spiritually affect other people. I had to make a part two.
So I was telling Cece about this real life scenario that just happened to me yesterday at my job and how what I do for a living, just requires a bunch of paperwork and a bunch of logistics. And I like to be very prepared when my people come in to finalize what they're doing with me. So I had everything ready and this couple comes in and they said, oh, we want to make these changes. And is it possible? Can we make these changes? And my first initial reaction is, no, we can't make these changes because it's going to take too long. And I had all these reasonings and they were split second reasonings why I didn't want to make the changes. And then I could tell by the way I was reacting that it was really troubling them, and they were troubled that I was troubled. And they were apologetic and saying, well, if it's too much, it's too hard.
Started sniffing out the spiritual dimension.
We don't have to do this. And then I started kind of feeling bad that I was being that selfish, like I couldn't make these changes for them and like it was going to be too hard to make these changes. So I finally just kind of stopped myself and I finally just said, yeah, we can make those changes. It won't take that long. Well, the problems that I anticipated, I did experience, and it did take about 45 minutes. Well, they had a baby with them, with the grandmother in the lobby, and the baby was getting kind of anxious. I could see them because I have glass windows, and I could see them, and the baby was kind of anxious. And so to kind of I switched gears. I switched my spirit, my attitude about it, and decided I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do it with a good attitude. And so I looked out the window.
You changed spiritual dimensions.
I did.
I
changed spiritual dimensions. And I look out into the lobby with the grandmother and the 6-month-old baby that was getting anxious because it was taking a while. And I said, yeah, I just decided that I'm going to go ahead and do this for you because it's not going to be that hard. And there's only one baby that's allowed in this room, and it's yours. And they just kind of giggled. And, it just really changed the atmosphere where they were no longer feeling like they had to comfort me in my distress about
because
them making
the
change. And I did realize that the spirit that I carry in those situations does make people feel like they have to walk on eggshells or get very overly apologetic about how they've ruffled how they'd ruffled my feathers and how they were causing me an inconvenience. And, there's been times in the past where I've just kind of carried that same spiritual attitude of oppression through the task that I was doing, where I was still being the martyr in the situation. And in some regards, not with true knowledge, was making them feel responsible for my emotions in the moment where they had created this problem for me. And there's been times in the past I just kind of carried that same spirit through the whole thing because they deserve to know how they were making me feel. But this scene,
I'm entitled to
this scene
abuse
yesterday,
them.
I was really focused on this word that I'd been given. that pertain specifically to my work, and my spirit, words, actions, and deeds in the world are declaring the kingdom every day. And when my spirit, actions, and deeds are declaring darkness and selfishness every day, it's still reflecting the wrong kingdom. So I've really set my will to just really look to the Lord in my spirit, words, actions, deeds. And when things don't go as I plan, be able to make the shift, because I have a way that works really ideally, but it's not real life that every scenario is going to play out that way, that people have changes. There are going to be things that come up that are unforeseen, and I can make the switch. And that's my biggest test, is when I'm tested by the Lord in those shaking situations. It's me in real time being able to say, okay, can I make this adjustment? And is it possible?
Put off the flesh.
It's not too hard. I want these people to know that they're important, that I'm here to serve their interest, and their interest was saving $500 on their paperwork. So anyway.
And they were young.
And they
so
were young.
What does your word say on your desk? Can you expand on that a little bit?
It does say that the violence of the kingdom is seen in its true sons and daughters, whose words, actions, and deeds declare the Lord and his kingdom every day as they walk the earth. And that I'm a true daughter because my words, actions, and deeds are reflecting that, and that people will, that his word won't return void, that his word will accomplish what it intends. So when my spirit and words and actions are saying, I'm going to make this change, I'm going to go ahead and be the servant of the people that I'm supposed to be serving in this job that I'm doing, I'm going to make this change. I'm going to declare the kingdom and Jesus that says, this isn't too hard for me.
Well, and
I can make this change.
I think people use a demonic spirit of oppression to fight the battle of life, to get people to conform.
Yes.
So it really is kind of a form, it's a way of abusing people, actually.
It is.
And I not only did it, my mother was good at playing the martyr, and really that's kind of what she would do whenever I didn't make her happy.
Yep.
She wasn't able to give me understanding to anything spiritually.
Yep.
So the silent abuse.
Yes.
Of now I'm your martyr and you're making me really unhappy.
Because you victimized me.
So in a sense, I can see how that's played out in Carmie's life. I think I really started going after that spiritual dimension because it didn't work very well with Jean. Me playing the martyr and not talking.
It doesn't.
But carrying a dark spirit.
It doesn't ever play out
of
well.
offense and grudge.
And then it can snowball so fast, especially in a work scenario where you're working in the world and the spirit of the world is everybody's murmuring and complaining about the things that are going wrong in their day. And
everybody's assaulting each other's happiness.
From road rage to somebody didn't turn their blinker on to just how is everyone just abusing each other with the spirit of their mouth, or the silence.
Giving you the silent treatment.
Giving people the silent treatment, but people can still perceive and read your spirit, especially when they're sitting right in front of you.
And you know what the message from the king of Satan and darkness is? You disgust me.
Yes.
You're disgusting.
What you've brought to me today is really an offense.
Thank God that Jean could help me see into a spiritual dimension.
Yeah.
And not just abuse me back. Because I think it happens in a lot of marriages too, where they play the martyr.
Yeah.
They affect each other's happiness. It's happened with us. I've had to shake it off when I've disgusted you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also wondered years ago, how could she marry this guy who is so oppressive?
I was very familiar with oppression, and I operated in it a lot myself, as a means a means to an end to control what was becoming out of control. That's how I did it.
So one of our other friends, because we were talking about the powers of darkness, the beast that women ride on, talks about Jezebel. She waged war. The woman of the flesh is kind of like the Jezebel that lives in us that we have to put to death.
Yeah.
That we have to make a judgment about self-life. And really, that's what I had to do one day in the kitchen with her. I had to open the refrigerator and go, shake off the self-life so I could say, how did you feel about saying that? Or whatever I did.
It was like she had
years
to
ago.
Take a deep breath and come up for air.
Yeah.
Because I was holding her head under the water.
Can we talk about this breach in the spirit that just happened? So
Yeah, oppression is like dunking somebody underwater and holding them down, and they have to come up for air at some
Especially
point.
when you play the martyr, we think that people are victimizing
But
us,
we
but
become the victimizer.
yes, we become the victimizer.
Yeah. I just thought they're going to think this is kind of cute if I say there can be only one baby in the room and it's yours. And so I'm going to have to put on my big girl pants and do what you need me to do and be okay about it.
But what a way to dispel the darkness
Yeah.
with people that aren't Christians.
Yeah.
And maybe even help them think about when the baby affects their happy place.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I was like, okay, your little baby is handling this change better than I am.
So
He's
where-
hungry and antsy, and I'm just
So-
a servant here.
I'm going to end this with where Jesus is trying to take us all. It's in 1 Peter chapter 2, I think. I don't know what verse it is, but it says, if you do well under oppression, this is what's acceptable to God.
But woe to the oppressor.
Yeah.
Even I read a scripture, Proverbs 14, the other day. I was reading the proverb of the day, getting ready for work. And there's a scripture there that says that he who oppresses the poor reproaches his maker.
Oh,
So
wow.
there is a lot of continual self-examination to be aware of when I do say things with my words, or even just don't say things with my words.
The meditation
but I
of your
have,
heart.
But I have the song in my heart going on that this is not conveniencing me. Don't you see how inconveniencing you are?
Because it's the inner music of our soul
Yeah,
that really, I think, affects people the most.
It does.
What we don't say.
it does.
Yeah, that's why I was so moved by what she said, because she actually didn't speak words. She realized the very meditation of her heart, which was dark,
Yeah,
was affecting people, and she flipped it around. All things, what happened for evil,
Yeah.
she was able to turn it around for good, because that's what the last video was about.
some of it is kind of based on, motivationally, it's based on a fear of that they're in a bigger hurry than I expect them to be in.
Yeah.
Or that the baby's going to get anxious and start crying in the lobby and everyone's going to get uptight. And so I'm kind of more motivated in those situations by, this is going to take a while.
You
Do
could have
have the
said, here's
time?"
$500. Anyway, we're going to end this now. Hope you have a good day, and I hope this blessed somebody.